Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors, America's only daily outdoor TV show. Your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. Today is Thursday, October the 1st. I am Bill Allen sitting in for Winston Chester this morning. Got a special guest. We're going to be talking about a lot of things fishing, but let's first get into the weather. High today in the upper 70s with the low in the lower 60s. Northwest winds at 10 miles an hour, and we've got a cooling trend through the weekend. It'll be cooler tomorrow. Be cooler on through the weekend. Tides today. There are 5 tides today, so we're going to be talking about that in a little bit. And surprisingly, at least I think to some of you, the solar lunar activity for fishing is basically very high through all of these tides today. And we'll talk about that a little bit when we come back. Looking at the river readings, Apalachicola at Bluntstown is 9.8 with a slow fall, and Choctawhatchee Caryville is, finally coming down at 9 feet with a slow fall. And so anyway, we're going to take this first break, come right back with our special guest. All right, welcome back. I am joined as usual by my good friend and our mayor, Mr. Greg Brudnicki. Good morning, sir. Thanks for being here. We are going to talk fishing here in just a little bit, but I wanted to take a minute and talk about Mike Helms, a good friend and an outstanding outdoorsman and sportsman who passed away not long ago, a couple of weeks ago. Mike, I met him when he was first back as a manager at C&G Sporting Goods and a diving instructor. In fact, Mike certified me to dive when I think I was 14 or something like that. But he was also very instrumental in teaching me how to hunt from a tree stand. And Ronnie Groom was one of the people that helped to teach me how to shoot a bow, and Eddie Joe Comerford. But Mike really, I learned a lot from Mike about how to hunt from a tree stand. And at one time too, we were teammates on a softball team with Ken Thomas. But Mike was an influence on a lot of people. He taught a lot of people to dive. He had a great safety record. But he was just a consummate outdoorsman. He'd hunt deer with anything they'd allow him to hunt it with. He was regular guns, black powder, archery. He told me one time if they'd let him put a knife between his teeth, he'd do that and dive out of a tree stand, and I believed him. And we hunted on St. Vincent's Island together. So Mike influenced a lot of people, shared his knowledge with a lot of people, and just a truly great guy that'll be sorely missed. Mike his good friend Ken Thomas and a friend of mine is working to sell Mike's boat for him. And as you didn't know Mike, you may have, but everything Mike had, he took care of, like unbelievable. It's like brand new. But Mike has a Hells Bay guide boat, 18.4, that's 6'7" wide. It's a 2005. He's got a 90 horsepower E-Tech on it, has with a stainless steel prop. He had a custom trailer made for it, motor guide, trolling motor, got a push pole with it, casting platform on the bow, and a custom made cover, and also with a stainless steel prop. And this boat comes with everything, life preservers and all the safety equipment. And I think Jeff's got a couple of pictures of that. So his boat, which is immaculate and has been well maintained, is for sale, and they're asking $30,000 for it. At this point, if you're interested in the boat, email the show or or call the show, and they'll get in touch with me. And I should have gotten a number for you to call, but I didn't do that because I'm not sure exactly who's going to handle that for Mike's wife, or if she's going to do it herself. So I will find out and have Winston to tell you tomorrow who to call. But right now, if you're interested, email the show and they can get in touch with me, and we'll talk about how you can see the boat and trial the boat. But again, it's beautiful, and it's an exceptionally well-maintained boat. All right, so enough said about that. I don't know if you can say enough about Mike. He was just a great guy. You knew him.
He was.
Yeah, you know.
And that's a very, very well-made boat. Hell's Bay hull.
Oh, Hell's Bay's a fabulous boat.
It's can get into some really super skinny water with those.
Yeah,
Good,
yeah.
Good boat.
Yeah, Mike fished with that boat here. They used to make, he and Ken used to make regular trips over to Louisiana to redfish. And like I said, you know, he loved it. He took care of it extremely well. And like I said, he was a big influence on me when I was younger. And you know, like I said, taught me how to dive. I dove with him many times. And you know, I worked at C&G for a little while I was going to school. There were several of us that worked down there, and you know, Mike taught a lot of people how to shoot. He you know, both guns and bows, you know, and you know, he just shared a lot of knowledge while he was down there. You know, and that's what, you know, that's a goal, you know, share what you know with people. So wanted to mention real quickly too, I mean, we're in October now, so, you know, things are starting to happen. Bow season's going to start here very quickly, and, you know, Squirrel's going to open in mid-November, and you know, you've got the river coming down, so that's going to be in our favor if it stays that way. You know, we've had a lot of rain and other things, but, you know, it's if you haven't done it, you need to be going through your shotguns and your rifles and things like that, making sure they're clean and good working order. I know you guys that bow hunt are already shooting and probably have been shooting all year, but you know, check your bowstrings, check everything. So don't need to tell you that, but it's time to get serious about it, and you know, especially your guns. That's coming up, and you know, I've got 2 or 3 trips planned for early in the fall, and I've been going through everything pretty steadily. So when we come back, we're going to address this 5-tide issue, some success that Greg had the other day without me, fishing this extremely dirty water, and just kind of talk our way through some of that. Hopefully can provide some tips for what's going on right now and how to fish it, and especially with this water cooling down as well. So let's take this break to pay the bills. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Okay, Greg, being that I am working all the time and didn't get to go the other day, you went out and faced some really dirty water.
I did. And I went out Saturday morning, and I'm not sure why you couldn't go, but I had to do it myself. So I did. And the water, I've got one of those lights, those green lights that you can put in the water at your dock, and it draws bait and fish at night. And
pretty amazing.
It is really, really cool. And my wife gave it to me for my birthday last month, or earlier this month. And so anyway, after this Sally storm, the water, when it comes on at night, it is orange.
Yeah.
Light. I mean, the water
is fluorescent green light.
Yeah, it is so discolored. So when I went Saturday morning, 1 foot of water, you could not see the bottom. And I was fishing in East Bay. And so you're thinking, okay, I know that I've always had success, most of the time had success, throwing a topwater lure when the water is dirty. And then, you know, because they either hear the sound or the motion. And it's cool because they know there's something up there, and they can't see you, and they can barely see the bait. So it's been effective. But that morning, the water is so dirty that they were coming up and slamming next to the lure. I had so many swings and misses. It was amazing, and did have one hook up early, and that was it on topwater. A little bit later on, I started dropping different crank baits or you know, hard baits or the Paul Browns in the water to see what I could see, you know, And one particular one that I had, when I dropped it down in the water, I could see it more than I could any of the other ones. So I said, what the heck? That's what I'm gonna throw. Use a little logic. And so I started throwing that, and the tides were so full that in some areas where it's usually, a foot, it was 2.5 feet. And so I'm throwing this.
And these were big tides.
Big tides, super big tides. I mean, the water was not as high as it was when Sally, but so I started throwing this, and I ended up getting, I think I caught 6 trout. Of course, I could keep 3. And I think I caught 4 reds, one, really nice one, the other was a little bit smaller. But after fishing and having all these swings and misses for whatever, an hour, hour and a half, all of a sudden I'm starting to get hookups. And so it ended up being a very productive day because I finally figured out the pattern, figured if I could see it, they could probably see it. Now, maybe something else that I threw, they would hit it anyway. I don't know. But I picked that one, and once they started hitting it, I'm not going to switch until I lost it. Then I tied another one on the same color. So it was kind of a bone-colored Miradine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and that pattern seemed to work. Now, funny thing is, so I've got these 3 fish, and I said, well, I'm going to take them home and clean them because my wife loves trout. I never keep redfish. So we get home, and I take the 3 and put them in the net. I'm kind of reaching off the dock, and I toss it onto the dock, and the net kind of opens up, and one of them flops out. So I really threw back 4 out of the 6. I had two left, but
I'm not sure I told that, but anyway.
Well, yeah, it's so even everybody makes mistakes, but it was pretty ironic because I left the fish biting. All right, they were still hitting, and there was absolutely no wind. I was having to use my trolling motor to move a little bit, but when I finally discovered the pattern that worked and found the fish, and they were outside, they weren't up in the marsh, they were outside the marsh, even though the water was that dirty and it was a falling tide, at one of the trout I hooked right in the middle of the back. So it looked like I'd had him hooked on for a live bait, so they were even, it was hard to see that stuff, but eventually found the right bait. So don't give up. When you're out there, don't think, oh, the water's so dirty, you can't do this or can't do that. Look at the weather and look at your conditions, adjust to those conditions, because every 6 hours they got to eat, just like we do.
Or less.
Or less, obviously.
And that speaks to why, we always advocate that, we carry at least 4 rods as a minimum, a piece rigged differently, so that you can just, continue to change without having to retie and going through all that stuff. So, fish till you find something that works. But, conventional wisdom, and if I was fishing the soft plastics like I tend to do a lot, so we mix it up, the conventional wisdom says you match the color of the water. So I would have gone with the dark, and the Z-Man in some way, shape, or form that was a darker color, closer to the water, but the hard baits, the swim baits, the jerk baits, with that contrast in color, I guess was just popping out to them, and they were going crazy over it.
Babe.
Now, how deep were you out further when you found them? You were on a falling tide or a rising tide?
I was on a falling tide, but because the tides were so huge, we had flood tides.
Oh, yeah.
That you could hug the bank, even on the flood tide, and there was still plenty of water, and it really worked out well because we've had so much wind, and the top of the water there was a lot of grass.
Yeah.
So you could not throw a topwater effectively because you couldn't keep the grass off it. So it just happened to work that when you throw that twitch bait, it sinks down, 1.5 foot, 18 inches. You're in about 1.5 feet to 2 feet of water, and it's in between the grass on top and the grass on the bottom.
Yeah.
Well, guess where the fish are? You know, that's where
Absolutely.
they are. So, you know, sometimes things work out.
And also, and you didn't have to go to it, but when you get in a situation like that with dirty water and grass, one of the great standbys to go to on that is a popping cork. You can adjust how deep you want to be so that your bait's off the bottom, you know, off the grass. The popping cork is going to provide that noise, you know, to bring it in. And, you know, don't be afraid to really snap that thing and then, you know, leave it in place. You know, I see people snap it and then they start reeling it. You know, tighten up, snap it, leave it there for a while to see if you're doing any good, maybe snap it again, and then, you know, after it settles, move it and start the whole process again. But dirty water, play with the Z-Man or the gulp that you're using underneath it as far as color. And scent is really, you know, important when you're fishing in dirty water too. So, you know, you want to now be a good time for a popping cork or to use what Greg's using and you know, get it in that in between time. So, all right, that's all good. So let's take this break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. And during the break, we were talking, and Greg brought up a good point. You start fishing popping corks, and you want to make sure you got some good scent in the water and color as well. You can use the
Fish bite.
help me out. Yeah, the fish bites that everybody's pompano fishing with now, including us. You know, those things stink. They put a lot of scent out. You can load them up on a popping cork. They're going to last a long time, and you know they come in, you know, the colors of the rainbow. So you know those are very effective on popping corks. And so, all right, we got 5 tides today, which a lot of people shy away from. But when you look at the site that you use, the site that I used for comparison, it shows the solar lunar activity today is very high pretty much all day, you know,
Right.
in patches. So while to interpret it, there's not a lot of water moving, but it's moving all day. I mean, to have 5 tides, the slack time, as we were saying, is going to be very small.
Yes, but if you have 5 tides, when does it stop?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's always going to be moving a little bit. So for whatever reason, based on where the moon is right now, if you get into an area where there are fish, there's going to be high fish activity. So it's just going to be getting out there and making sure you wet a line and hitting areas that you normally fish and that hold fish. If they do normally hold fish, because there's not that much tide movement, don't think you're not going to catch fish there.
Yeah.
So, you know, sometimes people tend to shy away from that. Now, probably going to have to be working today, but you know, if you can go, the weather's supposed to be beautiful tomorrow, so I'm hoping that I might be able to slip out in between meetings.
Yeah, and I'm just for research purposes, and so we can report back to you. There is a very strong chance that we will be fishing this afternoon those 5 times. Let's just put it that way. You know, because I mean somebody's got to go out there and prove these theories and things like that.
Right. I mean, you can't come on here and lie all the time. We got to. I mean,
All the time. Yeah. Jeff, you can cut some of that, you know. But yeah. So anyway, yeah. There's a very strong chance that we will be out there trying to prove that today. But yeah, well, it's moving all day, and you have to be flexible. You know, I mean, you gotta gold spoons. Gold spoons are good when the water's like this, you know, and changing depths. You know, we always try to set up a good drift for an area that we're fishing. You know, and staying off that trolling motor when possible, and set up and drift through an area which, you know, a lot of times it's not perfect, you know, in one direction, but what it does is it takes you from one depth to another.
well, that's one of the beauty things about using lures, as
Yeah.
you do cover more water. I mean, some people are just, they want to fish live bait. And there's nothing wrong with getting that popping cork and, if you catch some type of trash fish, cutting a strip of that
Yeah.
and putting that on. You want something with scent. It doesn't necessarily have to be, the fish bite, but something with scent. Now you may do it with the fish bite, catch another trash fish. But I mean, if you're attracting things to come to your lure, then you're going to be attracting other things. And the more you drift, the more you move, the more water you cover, the greater opportunity you've got to find something.
Yeah.
So, and I very seldom have caught a big trout or a big redfish, dropping it right next to the boat. I mean,
Right.
you want to get it, throw it pretty good distance away.
Well, long cast.
Yeah.
That's been said over and over again, and matching your rod, your reel, and your line with what you're throwing, and like on all the Z-Mans, the soft plastics that I love to fish so much, I've gone to the 10-pound Power Pro. I mean, it's a 2-pound diameter.
Not a lot of resistance. It's
And
good.
you're gonna cast farther with that. The further away from the boat, the better. I mean, the further away from the boat, the better. But just be flexible. If you're heading out into dirty water, make sure you got spoons with you. Make sure you got popping cork. You want a variety of colors. If and all we fish is artificial, so live bait, that's a different story. But be flexible and be willing to throw anything, and take note of the depth of the water that you're catching them in. I mean, don't go out there and say, I'm going to fish a foot of water all day long, that's where they're going to be. Well, that may be great for you, but it may not be great for the fish.
Right.
So vary it and find out where the fish are, and that's, I hate to throw a big secret out there, but where the fish are is where you're going to catch them. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today. I appreciate you watching. As always, Winston will be back tomorrow. I'll get you that number for Mike boat that you can call, and thanks for coming in.
Absolutely.
God bless and have a great day.
Thanks for watching America's only daily outdoor TV show, Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester, featuring hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.